Welcome back, everyone. We had a
10 seconds
slightly longer delay there because of the game coordinator going down. Thanks,
5
Valve.
seconds
Always
remaining.
interrupting the Dota 2 Canada Cup, but it wasn't very long, so we got the next game
Reserve
underway. And
time.
guys, if you missed game one, you need to go back and find the VOD. I don't know if you're watching the VOD or you're watching live right now, but go back and find game one. I'll have it up on my YouTube channel, but you need to watch game one because it was one hell of a game. It was so much fun. There was so much action. It was just absolutely crazy. One of the things we talked about in our last game in the draft, as we were starting to hype up these two teams and talking about the differences between the teams, we mentioned when we're talking about individual players, we were talking about gold per minute, we were talking about Chessie being the highest.
10 seconds
And what a
remaining.
performance he put on last game on that Nature's Prophet.
Complexities turn to ban.
Wrote it down here. 843 GPM is what he had in that game. And on top of that, we had Van with crazy early game kills. He had so many kills early on. It was unreal. But I think the real story of the game was
10 seconds remaining.
kind of found out a little bit later on. We really, on the end game score screen, we could really tell by the scores of some heroes and some players that Elite Wolves just weren't really able to get their supports doing much. We had M-God finishing with 111 and 8 on the Ogre. Masoku was 113 and 9 on the Venge. Neither of those really impressive. In fact, they're all negative. They're all lower than 1 KDA, which is definitely not ideal. Of course, you look at Handskin on complexity. His wasn't that great either. 0, 6, and 11, but still very positive, over 1 KDA, in fact, close to 2 KDA. And he was a Trait Protector, and I think it's easy to overlook the effect that a Trait Protector and that Handskin could have had in those fights. Living Armor, obviously not something that shows up on any kind of metric. And then on top of that, just Leech Seed being out there and healing heroes. And then Overgrowth as well. He had some maybe questionable ones early on in the game, but as we got later on into the game, he had some pretty big ones. He landed in a lot of heroes, and it really helped Complexity start off the fights in a good way. Another player who didn't really have the greatest record was Swindlemelons. He finished 6-5 and 21, and that isn't really that standout.
5 seconds remaining.
The effect that Swindlemelons had on that game was, I think, the complete opposite. He had an incredible performance. He may not have ended up with a lot of kills. He certainly had a decent amount of assists, but his role in the fights was to control the team fights and to do a lot through, when he dropped into that Brewmaster split, stun up targets, also toss them up in the air, and just control space and control heroes and put heroes on the run. And I think he did a terrific job doing that. So his score on the scoreboard, I don't think it really represents the kind of impact that he had in the game. And obviously, Complexity will look to continue on that kind of performance. And we'll see if Elite Wolves are going to be able to maybe get their supports more engaged in the fight. And as we jump into this draft right now, we can see the first two bans from either side exactly the same as they were last game. In fact, we have Complexity once again on the Dire side. We know that's the side they like to, or they prefer. And Elite Wolves, once again, of course, are going to be on the Radiant. But here's where it becomes different. The first pick coming out from Elite Wolves is the Mirana. That is the signature hero for Masoku. It's one of their top played heroes and one of their most successful heroes as well. So Elite Wolves, they know they need to get their supports more engaged. Immediately they pick up that Mirana for Masoku, and it should lead to good things. You know, if you watch or have listened to me cast before, you know that Mirana, I'm a huge fan of the roaming Mirana. So I really look forward to how Masoku's going to be able to play at this game. But with that Mirana being the first pick, immediately we see Complexity fire back with the Lone Druid and the Vengeful Spirit. Those are two of the heroes that we said were going to be heroes of contention, heroes that both these teams are going to go after. The other one, of course, was the Beastmaster, and we already saw that once again getting banned out. So all three of those heroes pretty much getting covered in the draft in the first round. After the Vengeful Spirit picked up, we see the Earthshaker getting picked up by Elite Wolves. Now, primarily, they play this in the offlane on Smash, so they're probably going to go for that. It also gives them some long-range initiation, so they can lead with a stun, which also helps you land arrows as well. So interesting that they choose to pick up that Earthshaker so early, but definitely something that they are comfortable with. And then we move into our next set of bans. Ember Spirit and OD getting both banned out by compLexity. Two heroes that synergize very well with the Mirana in the mid lane. They've got two strong lockdowns that'll help the Mirana land a 5-second arrow, which is pretty much a guaranteed kill. So immediately removing those, nothing too surprising there. And Elite Wolves banning out both the Enigma and the Nature's Prophet. Of course, respecting the performance that Chessie had last game on that Nature's Prophet. Banning it out, but also removing the Enigma, which we didn't really see very big black holes. But once again, I think that's something that people always look for in the Enigma and forces them to also... and by doing so, they kind of ignore the rest of what's going on in the fight with the Enigma. And I'm not sure exactly what the GPM was on Z-Freak. I can take a quick look here. His GPM was 493, and you contrast that with the two supports on Elite Wolves, which are 200 and 204. That's a very big difference and a huge gold lead just on the back of compLexity being able to pick up that Enigma. So that gets banned out as we move into our next set of picks. Brewmaster gets picked up by Elite Wolves, nothing too surprising there. But then it gets interesting. compLexity picked up the Legion Commander
Reserve time.
and the Zeus. Okay, we know the Zeus. We see it quite a bit getting played in the mid lane. But the Legion Commander is something new. It's something that we don't see much of. And it should lead to this game being very, very interesting. Elite Wolves going with their Tinker. It's one of those heroes that we typically don't see too much. Maybe it's starting to come back a little bit more. We see it getting picked up a little bit more often recently. Primarily by Elite Wolves, but it is also a hero that they used against compLexity in the Winners Bracket Final Series. And it worked very, very well for them. They actually, despite the fact that they had Tinker and Lone Druid, were able to finish that game very, very quickly. I'm not sure exactly what the time was, but I think it was around 20 to 25 minutes with those two very late game oriented heroes. So we'll look to see if Elite Wolves are able to have as impressive as a performance as they had last time on this Tinker. Final bans in for compLexity. It's going to be an Omni Knight as they remove that strong kind of stayability and sustain in a team fight for Elite Wolves. As we wait for Elite Wolves' final ban here. And it's going to be the Witch Doctor. So now compLexity with their final ban, or final pick. Who are they going to pick? We've got the Lone Druid. So we expect that to be a Chessie hero. As that, I believe he's the only player on their team that plays Lone Druid, but I might be wrong on that one. We've got the Zeus, which we expect to be mid lane. That's going to be the Limp hero.
10 seconds remaining.
I guess the Legion Commander is going to be offlane for Swindle.
Remaining.
And then the Venge actually doesn't really tell us too much because both Z-Freak and Hanskin both play Venge. I believe Hanskin plays it a little bit more. So maybe we're looking for a Z-Freak hero here. Is there anything that really pairs up well with a Legion Commander?
Puck.
Okay.
Radiant team pick.
So they pick up Puck. So I guess this is not a mid Zeus. I'm guessing this is then a mid Puck and a support Zeus, which is still fine. I don't think we've really seen compLexity run a support Zeus. And I don't know if we've seen them run a Puck mid either. So this will be interesting to see how compLexity are able to play this. Certainly it's a playstyle that I think meshes really well with how they normally play the game. As Puck, great at getting pickoffs.
Reserve time.
Very strong early/mid game oriented mid. And then on top of that, Zeus, he may not be the strongest level 1 support, but he's still a very strong early and mid game oriented support as well. And certainly helps give you a lot of map control. And it's also very strong against Tinker. If Tinker is able to...
10 seconds.
He goes to a lane and then blinks into the trees. The Thunder God's Wrath is going to be there to give you vision, which is then going to give you follow-up by either the Legion Commander or the Puck, or maybe even the Vengeful Spirit's able to swap the Tinker back. And Those are all ways that they're going to be able to interrupt the TP and get make that Tinker vulnerable. Final pick, once again, is going to be a late game oriented hero going and paired up with that Tinker, and it's going to be a Spectre for Evo. This is going to be an interesting game. So this is actually an offlane Brewmaster and a support Earthshaker is what we're going to see. Interesting. Well, we had one hell of a game one, and if this game is
10 seconds remaining.
anywhere near as good as game one was, I will be absolutely thrilled. But we're ready to start. We've got game 2 of the grand finals for the Dota 2 Canada Cup. Currently, we have compLexity leading 1-0 against Elite Wolves in this best of 5. As let's get into it. Let's introduce the teams and the players. As we've got Elite Wolves on our Radiant side. Van's going to be playing the Tinker. Masoku on his signature roaming Mirana. We got Evo playing the Spectre. Smash on the Brewmaster and MGod on the Earthshaker. As for Dire side compLexity, we've got a little banter between the two teams. As Swindle's going to be playing the Zeus. We got Z-Freak on the Legion Commander, Handskin on the Vengeful Spirit, Limp on the Puck, and Chessie going to be playing the Lone Druid. And look at the conversation between these players here. Swindle saying, Misko, if we win this series, what are you going to change your name to? Of course, Misko is MGod. Says, what for? Are you roasting or something? No way, don't bother check, as they were not. But interesting conversation between the two teams. But what else is interesting is the fact that we actually have a support Legion Commander and an offlane Zeus. Well, we may actually have a change of plans there, as we got a huge battle here for the top rune, and Swindles is going to be able to pick up the bounty rune. The bottom rune was picked up by Chessie on the Lone Druid, as it looks like we're going to have an interesting battle in lane here, as we're going to have Limp in the mid lane, and so we immediately get a pause. And immediately get a G gets called, so we are ready to go again, but we've got Puck in the mid lane going up against, where is he? There he is, the Tinker. So we know that this lane's probably going to stay. Our bottom lane is going to be a Lone Druid, so it's an off-lane Lone Druid for compLexity going up against what is just a Spectre right now, which leaves an interesting top lane, where they got the Brewmaster right now, but he's going up against a Vengeful Spirit and a Zeus. And we've got the Legion Commander in the jungle jungling. So compLexity have gone with a more greedy kind of lineup. And Elite Wolves have gone with this kind of roaming duo of the Earthshaker and the Mirana. And I'm not sure if this is actually going to work out for them, because this creates a situation in the bottom lane where compLexity, very heavy favorites, going with the Lone Druid up against the Spectre. That's going to be very one-sided in favor of the Lone Druid. Mid lane, I don't know exactly who wins this out. I imagine Puck will do fine because he won't be able to get harassed too bad by the Tinker. So they should be able to exchange farm there. And you take a look at their damage, and it's pretty much equivalent. We've got 66 damage on the Puck and actually 69 on the Tinker, so very slight advantage there, but he's also got just a 1 level advantage, which will actually come back to Limp here as he hits 3 as well. So he's got 68 damage, so it's pretty much even in terms of attack damage there, so it should be pretty even. I don't really see any other advantage in terms of skills really benefiting one hero more than the other. But MGod and Masoku rotating in behind, Handskin and Swindles in the top lane, which we might see Elite Wolves get first blood again. As they're going to focus on Handskin, and they will get it. Smash going to get it this time. Last game it was Evo. But Swindles will try to go after Smash, and he will be able to find him in the trees with the Lightning Bolt. So compLexity get back on the board. As Z-Freak is going to come out of the jungle, and he's going to go after MGod and Masoku. He doesn't really have much to lock them down, but is going to be able to exchange a little bit of damage here. As Handskin comes in as well, and Smash going to TP back up to the top lane. Surprisingly, Ewo is actually doing okay. He's at 13-1 CS right now. As Chessie's only at 8-1, so the Spectre finding a way to do better in the bottom lane than I would have expected. So obviously I've got this lane wrong. Or maybe it'll come back to the Lone Druid a little bit later. Of course, he doesn't have Entangle yet.
Denied.
We'll get that in about a level's time. But interesting. Let's take a look on the mid lane. Is that one is, as I predicted, going to be even. 12-3 CS for Limp on the Puck and 10-3 for Van on the Tinker. So not much between the two mid laners there. In terms of the top lane, we expect the Zeus to be getting more as he's sitting at 14-4 and Smash down at 4-0, and now he's in trouble. He'll drop down to 160 HP, but we'll get back to his tier 1 tower as we've got the two supports from Elite Wolves rotated away from that top lane. Gonna go towards the mid lane, and oh my goodness, they missed that setup. M-God leads with the fissure. Masoku misses the arrow. That was pretty much guaranteed stun on Limp there, and they miss it. Well, Limp will be glad that that worked out the way it did for him. I was a little bit surprised with his positioning, standing so far off to the left, given that he knew the supports from Elite Wolves will be rotating from the top. Typically, you want to lean away from the direction that the gank's going to be coming from. As Masoku actually manages to get a kill there. I'm guessing that was an arrow that flew in and hit, because it looks like it was... I mean, the kill was up at the tower.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
He was quite a ways out, so... Hanskin Z-Freak will be able to back away here. Swindles respawns, TP's up to the tier 1. Now M-God and Masoku are... Oh, they will try to throw an arrow, but they will get dodged by Swindles. Fisher's going to come out as well, but not really going to trap him. As Van was able to find a kill onto Hanskin as he was making his way back towards mid. We have so many offensive wards here from Elite Wolves. 2 offensive wards covering the dire side jungle as we actually have M-God suicide to the neutral creeps to get back to Fountain and get healed back up. As Ewo's hit level 6 and immediately haunts up to the top lane where he meets up with Smash to get a kill onto Swindles. Z-Freak TP's on in, but not able to get there in time to help out the Zeus. And now we're going to have a TP from Hanskin, so we'll get the stun off onto Smash, and I don't know if they're going to be able to chase that. Arrow's going to fly in from Masoku, but it's going to be off the mark. And looks like that's the end of that engagement. God will place an observer ward in the lane down here, but it's an interesting position. Typically you want to see more up in this direction, and you also want to be able to see if there's any TPs coming in. Limp will actually be able to find a kill there on Tinker in the mid lane. I thought Van was safe, but apparently the orb was still in the air, so he's able to jaunt to it.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Arrow flying in. Ooh, Hanskin just barely able to dodge that. Ewo will actually toss a dagger as well. Not going to be able to follow up. Limp coming in through the river with a couple attacks off of Masoku, but Ewo will actually be forced to TP away. So we do have Chessie leading the way in terms of last hits. So now he's going to get an entangle up on Smash. Chessie's sitting at 42-6 CS right now, so he has pulled away from Ewo, but of course we had Ewo jump up into the top lane to get a kill. But he's at 31-1 with, of course, that kill. Then it's a whole bunch of heroes on the side of compLexity. We got Limp at 30-14. Then it's Swindles at 23-5. And then it's actually Z-Freak on the Jungle Legion Commander sitting at 25-2. He's actually ahead of Van. As we have smoke up here from Elite Wolves. As they're going to try to make a play going down towards the bottom lane. But Chessie's going to back. They know something's up. So they'll play it safe there. Now Masoku and M-God will go for a play on the mid lane. Arrow's going to come in, but immediately Limp counters it by moving and positioning himself on the other side of the range creep. So typically Puck is actually quite strong against roaming Mirana because
Radiant's
with the arrow
top
flying in, you
tower
can
is
always
under
phase
attack.
shift it if it's going to hit. But this is the difference of having the Earthshaker. The Earthshaker can land the fissure, and that makes it so that the Puck is not able to phase shift because the fissure comes up, stuns him up, and he's not able to phase shift the fissure cast. And then that pretty much guarantees the arrow, assuming it was thrown on the mark,
Radiant's
will land
top
and stun
tower
up that
is under
Puck for
attack.
most likely 5 seconds because they're going to be going for pretty much max range arrows. But Limp has been playing it very, very well, as we're going to have another arrow up towards the top, but it won't land. Now Limp with this Invis room will go hunting. He'll look for Van. And this is going to be very important. Covering these 2 camps is going to be very important because that's how Van's going to be able to get his gold and get going again. We haven't seen him had the greatest early game. And those are going to be kind of his comeback camps. Limp will actually scout out Masoku here. And he's going to go for him. Oh my goodness, so much damage.
Did you mean to elude me?
Orb, Dream Coil, Thunder God's Wrath, and that's pretty much a dead support Mirana. This M-God gets very, very low, drops down to 12 HP, but they don't have any other follow-up. The Swindle Mounts is just going to try to TP away, but Evo haunts on in. And instead it's Zeus that goes down instead of this Earthshaker. This M-God pretty damn lucky to survive that.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Arrow's going to fly in. Handskin's actually coming out of the trees there, so he's not going to get trapped. Now Z-Freak's going to come out of the jungle. He is level 6, so they do have duel. They've got the potential to turn around. His arrow's going to fly in. It's going to stun up Handskin. The Z-Freak will actually use the horn on himself. I don't think he would have really been able to save Handskin there, but now he's in trouble. He's going to try to run. We've got Limp tossed up in the air as he's going to try to turn around and fight. After Z-Freak goes down, as he's going to try to go on Evo. He's got Dream Coil in 3 seconds. He's going to get stunned up by the fissure. There's the arrow, and he will just be able to phase shift. I have no idea how he was able to react to that, but he did. Has to land that Dream Coil on 2, and oh my goodness, Smash's TP was just about to finish, but Swindles gets it with the Lightning Bolt to interrupt it. And compLexity have a pretty good fight for them. It doesn't actually show all the kills there, but slight advantage for compLexity when it's all said and done, as they even the score up. Or almost even the score. 7-6 now in favor of Elite Wolves. But while all that action's happened in the top lane, Chessie got the bottom tier 1 and he's continued to push this bottom tier 2 and put pressure on it. Now Elite Wolves are going to have to come back and put some pressure on this Lone Druid in some way, but I don't know if they have the tools yet. They need to get these Boots of Travels up on Van, and he has had this stacked once, but hasn't really come and farmed it up yet. He might come for it now. And he's got the double damage. Yeah, this support roaming duo for Elite Wolves has, I mean, somewhat worked. It's somewhat been effective in getting Ewo in the game, given that he had a weak lane. But I don't know if it's enough. It's given Chessie essentially free farm all game. And then even in the other lanes, compLexity are still winning those. So yeah, you've gotten Ewo back in the game, given that you gave him a bad lane.
Radiant's
And
middle tower is under attack.
everyone else is just kind of losing their lane, so I don't see Ewo being able to carry this entire game, given the start that so many of these heroes on compLexity have had. But Masoku is able to get a kill up in the top lane with M-God and Ewo. Now Smash will try to go on Chessie, but
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I'm sure Chessie isn't really that scared. His bear's pretty low. Smash going to try to wrap around. He's actually going to do it with the Brewmaster split, as Ewo's going to haunt down to the bottom lanes. They're going to open up on Chessie, and this was a nice little gank set up by Elite Wolves. And oh my goodness, the fissure's short. It won't actually land on Chessie, but he's not able to escape anyways.
Dire's top tower is under
But
attack.
good gank there coming out from Elite Wolves, and that'll give them some much needed gold. As it's Smash I want to check on. 2100 gold now, so he's close to his Blink Dagger. Ewo's gone phase, drums, earn, and he's at 1300. And this is the point of the game where compLexity have a pretty big advantage. They've already picked up their first kind of core items. They've got the Blink Dagger up on Limp. He's got another 1100 gold actually. Handskin hasn't really picked up much, but he's got gold. Well, he's had the gold to buy the support stuff. That's what I mean. Z-Freak, once again, he's been able to jungle, but he's doing okay for himself. Doesn't have anything yet, but he's doing okay.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Chessie's got his Midas up to 1500 gold. He's well on his way to his relic. And Swindles, once again, has his core items, the Arcanes, the Soul Ring. And he's going to start working towards his next big item. And Chessie can just walk up to a tower and he's not really scared of much. He's just has so much damage to be able to bring it down. Arrow's going to stun up the bear. But they're not going to be able to act on that. And miss a kill on the bottom is Z-Freak. Combines with Limp and Handskin to get a kill on Van there. And it looks like it was a dual kill. As a dual win as he's up to 10, plus 10 damage as a result of that. We'll do some more stacking here on the Ancient Camp. As he waits for the bottom rune. Just a bounty. The top's going to be an Arcane rune. Chessie's going to ping it out, but I'll have to come and destroy it because it looks like Smash or MGod are going to be able to pick it up. In fact, Smash is just going to blink on it, so we will be able to get it. But Smash doesn't have a bottle, so it'll just be picked up immediately.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Well, Smash and MGod have found Swindles in the Dire jungle, and that is a dead Zeus. And now they're going to try to go on Chessie. Do they haunt it in with the Spectre? And I don't know if they're going to be able to get this kill. Limp going to TP in to help out. Handskin also rotating on in. As Limp's actually going to jump on MGod. Rana's going to pop the ult. And that should allow Elite Wolves to be able to back away. Handskin has an item it's going to deliver here. It's going to be just another set of wards as another arrow flying into mid. But one of the things I want to talk about is Z-Freak has picked up an Aether Lens, and we saw this kind of support Legion Commander happen a while ago. It might have been 2 patches, it might have even been more ago. But what's interesting is that was prior to the Aether Lens, and now with the Aether Lens it gives the increased range so that you're going to be able to use Horn more as something that's going to help your teammates. Actually don't know what the thing's called. Press the attack on your teammates to help out, but you're also going to have that increased range to be able to get the duels off.
Dire's top tower
So I really like that compLexity are kind of experimenting again with this support Legion Commander. I'm interested to see how it'll work out, not just in this game, but in games forward.
Has fallen.
As compLexity will be able to get that tier 1 tower. You can tell the Elite Wolves are kind of just hanging around, somewhat defending their towers, but not really looking to engage in a full fight just yet. He travels up on the Tinker, 400 gold as well. He still needs his Blink Dagger before he's really going to be able to be effective. Soku's just gone Arcanes and probably a Medallion in the works with the Chainmail. As we're going to see Masoku immediately blow him up. As we're going to have a Brewmaster split from Smash. So he's going to try to go on Z-Freak, and MGod's going to stun him up for a second, but nice swap from Handskin. We'll keep the Legion Commander alive, but here comes Ewo haunting on in. As Swindles comes in from below, but he runs right into an Echo Slam from MGod. As Z-Freak and Handskin trying to get on out of here. They're both on pretty low HP. Looks like Z-Freak will just barely be able to TP out, but Handskin unfortunately not able to escape. Limp looks like he'll be fine. But compLexity go for an aggressive play there, and they end up losing 2 heroes instead. But once again, it's still Chessie. Left alone, free farming away. He now has enough gold for his relic. We'll quickly switch over to our net worth and see where we are, despite the fact that Chessie's actually been left alone and he's been pretty much free farming. We actually have more gold on Evo than I think we're expecting. Swindles and Smash are going at each other in the top lane. As Smash gets kind of low, Swindle's actually using the Thunder God's Wrath. But neither of them will score a kill. But yeah, take a look at that net worth, and Evo is only 300 gold behind Chessie, and I think that's very surprising. As Evo has now picked up his relic, he's at 5-0-4 right now. Wow, this is impressive stuff from Elite Wolves. Given how terrible their lanes went, the fact that they were able to get the Spectre back in the game, and the fact that Evo is able to pretty much keep up with Chessie, free farming away.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's top
And now
tower
that Tinker's
is under
pretty
attack.
much coming online as well. He's 1,500 gold right now. He's getting closer and closer to that Blink Dagger. Elite Wolves are going to start looking pretty scary. That's going to be the Yule Scepter getting delivered to Limp. There's the Radiance getting completed by Chessie as we got 4-man smoke coming up from compLexity. Is they're going to go into Roche Pit here? We know they like to go for these early Roches, and looks like, oh no, maybe not. You see the bear moving through their jungle, immediately gets pinged out by Masoku. That's compLexity. They want to go on Van here, and they're going to have vision of him. They're going to swap him back, and it's going to be a dead Tinker and a dual win for Z-Freak as he now gets plus 20 damage. Immediately, Van buys back into the game. So he's going to TP on in, and they're going to try to punish compLexity for this play. Stun. Fissure Stun's going to stun up Chessie and Limp, but it looks like Chessie will just barely be able to get away. He's getting chased down by Smash. He'll get stunned up by the Rock. But it looks like Chessie's going to be fine, and instead it's Elite Wolves losing both of their supports, and maybe more as Evo getting very, very low, 70 HP. But it looks like compLexity not going to be able to finish that kill off, as they had a few of their heroes on very low HP as well. But yeah, very good rotation from compLexity. They find that kill on the Tinker, which is a very, very valuable one. I was talking about how close, and what the heck? Chessie, he managed to get a kill on Evo with the bear. Oh, that is even more of a disaster. But I was talking about how close Van was getting to his Blink Dagger, and with that kill on him, they set him back. And then on top of that, Elite Wolves thought that maybe they could just buy back on the Tinker and get involved and get some return kills there and make their money back. But it just didn't happen. They didn't get those kills, and then instead they lost a couple heroes, and I don't know how it happened, but apparently they lost Evo after the fact, with Chessie's bear just chasing him down into the base. It's one of the plays. We'll probably have to go back and take a look at the replay, see exactly what happened there, how Chessie was able to chase down Evo, given that Chessie wasn't close enough to even be able to attack with the bear. But on the back of all those plays, compLexity get Roche, and they get an Aegis, as this bear is looking pretty scary with that Radiance and the Midas. Of course, Chessie has the Aegis. Handskin, it's got Urn, and now Tranquil Boots as those come in complete. We got Arcanes and a Veil up for Swindle Mounts, as well as another 1,800 gold. Limp has his Blink and his Yule Scepter, 1,400 gold on hand. And now Z-Freak. He still just has his Aether Lens and Iron Talon, but he's got 2,400 gold. Interesting to see what he's going to pick up. Of course, Blink Dagger's a somewhat standard option for a Legion Commander, but I'm not sure what a support Legion Commander is going to be looking to do at this point in the game. Maybe it is going to be a Shadow Blade instead. That's always a decent option, and I like its ability to being able to open up on the Tinker. You're not able to get a Blink cancelled by March of the Machines, and look at that. He will pick up a Shadow Amulet, so that is the direction that Z-Freak's going to go for. As for the Elite Wolves, they've almost got this Radiance picked up by Evo. That kill, once again, I have no idea how it happened, but Chessie getting that kill on Evo has really set him back from getting that Radiance. And Swindles actually will pick up a Blink Dagger, and there's Z-Freak completing the Shadow Blade, as that'll be flying in on the Courier.
Radiant's
M
bottom
God sitting at
tower is
1100
under attack.
gold. So about halfway to his blink
Dire's
dagger, and
top
Van
tower is
about
under
to complete
attack.
his.
Radiant structures are fortified.
And there's that Radiance
Radiant's
getting picked up
bottom
by
tower
Ewo.
is
Smash
under attack.
has his blink 1300 gold, and
Radiant's
Masoku's
bottom
actually
tower
gone for
has
completing a
fallen.
buckler, so he's going mech instead of Medallion. Is Smash going to try to go on Handskin there, but Limp just jumps in on the other side and gets a kill on Masoku. As Handskin will eventually go down as Van comes in. Ewo is going to haunt on in, and they'll get another kill as they drop the Zeus. But Duel's going to come off from Z-Freak as they bring down that Spectre. M-God and Smash going to try to do what they can, but they might just have to run here as the Bear's going to chase them down, and they're burning away from that Radiance as M-God's going to go down and Smash gets tossed up in the air from that Yule Scepter. As soon as he lands, he goes down, and it's triple kill for Z-Freak on the support Legion Commander. As compLexity looking like they are in a very good position in this game, despite the fact that we're only 16 to 14 in terms of hero kills. I imagine the gold graph is going to once again be in their favor as we pass over the 10k mark, and we're pretty much right around that 12k mark.
Radiant's
Just
middle
24
tower
minutes
is
in this
under
game,
attack.
and XP's pretty much identical. But you know what? We saw last game where there was a point where compLexity clearly had control of the game and Elite Wolves were kind of up against the wall, but somehow they found a way to get back in it. And now they've got a Tinker and a Spectre. Very great heroes at getting themselves back in the game and going late. So once again, Elite Wolves are kind of in a situation where if they're able to get in that position where they can go later and later against compLexity, they could be looking very good. Now, compLexity, they are... Oh, we're going to get a swap here from Handskin, as that's going to bring back Smash, and immediately they blow him up.
Radiant's middle tower is
As
under
the Bear
attack.
will just disjoint that attack from the tower. I want to point out that the Aegis has been used from Chessie. He just used it up here. Just went down and just took the heal.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Tier 2 is going to go down here as compLexity once again
Radiant's
continue to
middle
break down
tower
these
has
towers.
fallen.
Fleet Wolves try to come back and punish another arrows off the mark as Masoku, this really hasn't been like him. These arrows have just barely been off the mark, and he just hasn't had this stellar performance that we were really we kind of expect from Masoku playing the Mirana. And look at this. compLexity going to try to come back in and re-engage. They're not going to find the opening. I'm really surprised they didn't Shadow Blade in with Z-Freak. I guess it was still on cooldown when they went to turn around there, or maybe he just canceled it somehow. But he ran in and led with the overwhelming odds rather than Shadow Blade duel.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Van TP's up in top lane. As Limp and Z-Freak are both up here, but so is Ewo. And we got some TPs coming in from compLexity as they're not going to go after Van, they want to go after Ewo instead, but Ewo kind of gets away and they force out a haunt. As Handskin gets kind of low and Ewo will actually jump towards the mid lane, and they're going to get a nice fissure block off on Chessie here. And Elite Wolves, they dodge a gank coming out from compLexity in the top lane, and they turn it into a gank of their own. As they drop that Lone Druid who just completed a MKB, so he probably didn't lose too much gold. It looks like he did lose some. Will start to get themselves back in the game. That's quickly becoming a theme of this series. Don't count Elite Wolves out of it yet. We're going to get a quick pause here from compLexity. Well, they're getting some packet loss, so hopefully they'll have that clear up. Wrenchcaster reconnects to the game. We'll quickly bring up our items here so you guys can take a quick look. See what we have. We now have that Blink Dagger picked up by M-God. Smash has his Blink, his Vlad's, and the makings of, I'm guessing, a BKB, although it could be an Aghanim Scepter. Either way, it's just an Ogre Club for now. Van's got his Boots of Travel, his Blink, and looks like he's going after a Yule Scepter to try to keep himself a little bit more safe. Masoku almost has that mech completed, as we'll take a look at his gold. 525 right now. Ewo's got Radiance Drums and Vitality Booster, which probably building into a heart there, and Urn as well. I'm just pointing out what went on in chat there, just saying Zach BRB 2 minutes. So Zach is Z-Freak. So we'll have a little bit of a longer break here, but not too long. As for complexity, it looks like we got Arcane's Veil and Blink Dagger, as well as a Soul Ring for Swindamones. Limp's got Yule Scepter, Blink, and he's also added on an Ultimate Orb. So maybe a Sheep is in the works for him. Chessie, we can't see here, but we know his bear has Radiance and MKB, as well as a Midas. Z-Freak's got the Shadow Blade, Aether Lens, and also an Ogre Club on the Support Legion Commander. And Handskin's gone Tranquil Boots and Urn, and just your typical support items. Well, complexity are ready, Elite Wolves are ready, and we'll resume the game and hop back in it. As now that we're back in, we'll take a quick look at our net worth, and we can see still complexity about 10 to 12k ahead. Right now, as we see it just barely updating there, but right around the 10k mark in terms of leads for complexity. But once again, I don't know if Elite Wolves are that far behind. I think they're really coming into their own and coming into their strengths right now with the Spectre and the Tinker, which are the two heroes that are really going to dominate on their team. Take a look at the Brewmaster on Elite Wolves. Once again, it's not one of those heroes that you expect to go and kill everyone. He's sitting at 4, 5, and 8 right now, but you compare that with the performance last game from Swindamones on the Brewmaster, where he finished on 6, 5, and 21. It's pretty much exactly the same. You expect him to be in the fight and just kind of control the fight and help your other cores, your Tinker and Spectre in this case, do their job more effectively and just kind of run over the opposing team. Of course, you've got great counters from complexity, of course. If there's a big arrow, of course, Z-Freak is always there with pressed attack to clear off that 5-second arrow off whichever target it hits, assuming it's not him. Of course, Handskin's always there to swap a target if they're in a vulnerable situation as well. There's great kind of counterplay potential from complexity. As for their ability to go late and really fight, a lot of that is actually just on Chessie. We're going to have complexity open up here onto Ewo, because they will find a kill, and that's exactly what complexity needs. They need to find these pickoffs onto Ewo, and that'll really help them lead into the next fight, or to lead them towards getting in the next objective. But there is a buyback available, so we need to be careful. And there it is. Ewo's going to buy back, haunt on in. As Z-Freak getting low, Handskin will swap him back to safety, but it's going to cost Handskin his life, and Homing Missile will not hit Z-Freak because he drops into Invis there. As Smash will find another kill on Swindles, and now he's going to find Chessie as Chessie's trying to run away. Arrow's going to fly in, and it will stun up Chessie. And with the Lone Druid going down, that was definitely worth the buyback from Elite Wolves, as that is a very big gold swing their way. 3,900 gold going their way. As Limp gets caught, and immediately Masoku times the arrow properly. And Limp goes down. That's another big streak, unstoppable streak going to Elite Wolves.
Radiant's bottom tower.
That's a further 1,800 gold going their way.
Dire's middle tower
on top of the
is under
3,900
attack.
that they just got from the previous
Dire's
fight.
structures are fortified.
And this is kind of the point I was saying. This is do not count Elite Wolves out of this. They've got their Tinker and their Spectre, which are just going to be
Dire's
so
middle
damn
tower
strong. And
is
yeah,
under
we saw
Dire's middle tower
how
has
quickly
fallen.
compLexity were able to bring down that Spectre. But with buyback, he just buys back, haunts into the fight, and all of a sudden compLexity, they're struggling. And they're trying to run away because they just used everything to kill that Spectre. And now they have to do it again against the second life of the Spectre. We just saw Elite Wolves kind of dominate that fight, and now they're taking some towers on the back of it. And a lot of this gold that we saw earlier on, this gold lead that we have from compLexity, a lot of it is almost always in their early tower pushes, and the fact that they kind of snowball off tower gold. And it kind of goes back to their Han days, which was Han was a very snowball oriented game, and you saw a lot of towers going down early, and you snowballed off not only early kills but also off tower gold. So it's no surprise that we see compLexity always kind of playing that style. But now with Elite Wolves kind of coming back in the game, it's only one tower difference between the two teams. We've got 5 towers down by compLexity and 4 down by Elite Wolves. So that's a very slight gold advantage for compLexity by way of towers. What, compLexity going to go for Roche here? Ewo is actually going to scout him out with the haunt, but he won't actually teleport in, because that would have been suicide. But Roche goes down once again to compLexity. Chessie picks it up again. We only have 1 kill separating our two teams here. 19 to 18 in favor of Elite Wolves. 32 minutes in. And gold graph has come back by way of Elite Wolves. 6,000 gold in favor for compLexity. XP pretty much been mimicking our net worth chart the entire time, and it is still doing so. We've got BKB flying in for Z-Freak. Van will lay down a bunch of March of the Machines, making it difficult for compLexity to keep pushing. Meanwhile, he's got M-God Masoku going on the offensive here, trying to catch someone, maybe coming back or whatever, but they're just going to TP back to defend because they realize compLexity aren't going to back. Swap's going to bring Van into the middle of compLexity, and they're going to kill that Tinker immediately, forcing him to buy back into this game. And it seems like that's the start of every one of our fights, but now compLexity on the run once again. Hanskin and Swindle both very, very low. Swindle will go down. Hanskin's going to go down shortly after. We did have Van die back, but that might be the only kill that compLexity is going to get, is now Chessie is getting very, very low, and looks like he's going to go down. Z-Freak is also in there on very low HP. He will Shadow Blade and try to run away, and he won't be able to do so. M-God hits him with the fissure. Chessie respawns off that Aegis. He tries to TP out. I'm not really sure what Elite Wolves did. They all kind of started to back. I don't know if they thought that Chessie had TP'd out or whatever, but they back away, and Chessie does eventually go down there. Another huge team fight win for Elite Wolves. Yeah, it cost them a buyback, and it was a dieback for Van, but he was the only hero that went down for his team. And him and a dieback on the Tinker for a 5-man team wipe, I think they'll take that any day of the week. As another huge 4,300 gold swing goes the way of Elite Wolves. And now Smash will have an Aghanim Scepter. We almost have a BKB picked up by M-God. Ewo has picked up a Yasha. He's got another 2,800. So not actually going after that heart. You might go after it now. Z-Freak going to go and hunt and look for a kill, but I don't think he's going to find one. He goes down towards the bottom, but Van not taking his chances, already TPing out of there. And he heads up into the top lane. Moonlight Shadow will be used by Elite Wolves as they're going to look for a kill. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to find one. Doesn't look like anyone from compLexity is nearby. So we got the GG boots up on Masoku. Smash, we just mentioned that Aghanim Scepter. Evo still hasn't spent any of that gold. Still waiting on Van to make progress towards his next item. God has completed that BKB. It's pretty much where we stand in terms of the Elite Wolves. Now on to complexity. We've got a gem up on Handskin. That'll help give them a little bit more map control back, but they don't really have much. They're able actually to freely move around the map. The problem is when they actually get into any kind of confrontation with Elite Wolves, suddenly they may get a kill, but they're always pretty much on the back foot trying to run away on the back of it, and then they end up losing more heroes than they got. They got the sheep up on Limp now, another 1800 gold as well. Z-Freak sitting on 700 gold for completing that BKB. What does the bear have? He's added on a Hyperstone, so AC is going to be on the way. Eventually. Oh, they're going to find Limp in Roche Pit, but he will be able to phase and jaunt to his orb and get back to his team, as we actually had Haunt get used there by Elite Wolves. That's pretty important for them, so now they'll have to back away. And this could be a moment where Complexity have an advantage. Certainly I don't know if they're going to have many advantages going forward in this game, so that wasted Haunt may be the moment for them to act. Swindle's trying to push back this top lane and keep it away from his base. He does have boots of travel to jump down and meet up with his team in the bottom lane. He'll do that right now. This Van actually headed up to the top lane to keep that lane pushing. Instead of laying down the marches in the bottom lane, he actually just bought Aghanim Scepters. That'll give him a whole bunch of heat-seeking missiles flying out there. As Z-Freak will open up on M-God. There's both BKB targets there, and we won't actually get a dual win, but M-God will go down. He does get the Echo Slam off first, as Chessie on pretty low HP, but will be able to keep running away. Handskin now stuns up Smash. As Smash is in trouble, he'll try to run. As he'll drop the clap, and eventually he'll go down to that orb, but no, it actually misses. Limp gets it with the right click instead. As the amount of damage being dealt by Van, thanks to this Aghanim Scepter pickup, is just ridiculous. As he'll get a kill there on Chessie with it, and maybe if he can get another one off, he'll get one on Swindles, but not able to get close enough. As there's a gem on the ground, Ewo will actually drop his urn on the ground to pick it up. And immediately it gets pinged out by Limp as they're going to jump in and... I thought he was going to destroy it, but no, he's playing it safe. As the courier was flying in to pick that up, but it actually got sent back because the order to pick it up was sent, but they lost a vision. Because I'm guessing they did a shift queue. He will drop the gem on the ground. Now he's just going to walk down and pick up his urn. But yeah, this Aghanim Scepter pickup by Van, oh my goodness. He was just sitting there, spitting out heat-seeking missiles. And they were just doing so much damage. He didn't have to go anywhere near the fight. He just stayed way back and just kept tossing those out. And it was just doing so much damage to complexity. Z-Freak gets an opening on Ewo, and then we'll get the kill. And just barely a dual win. That was very, very close. That's definitely not something that they need. Give more gold to the Spectre, or more damage to the Spectre. Complexity get that kill, and now... Are they going to try to push here? There is a buyback available on Ewo. We do have Elite Wolves putting some pressure on the top lane. They do have a nice size push here. But it looks like they've all abandoned that top lane and start heading down because their bottom racks are exposed here. Roche is going to be up in 45 seconds. Of course, the players don't know the exact timing on that Roche respawn. In fact, it is going to be a pretty quick one.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Bear will start doing some damage to that Rax. Hero's going to land and stun it up.
Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack.
You're going to press the attack on the Bear, and they'll just chew through the melee Rax. So Complexity get that. Question is, now, do they live? as Chessie drops down to below half HP, and he's just going to fall so quickly. As compLexity try to get out once again, they get punished as Handskin dies as well. But I think they'll be alright with this. They lose 2 heroes, but they do get out of there after getting the racks. I'm sure they would have preferred their lone druid to get out of there. But that was a Rax for them. And now it looks like Elite Wolves, they're just charging down this mid lane. They don't care about anything. They know that they're so much stronger right now, and they can definitely take a fight against compLexity. They don't have Haunt right now, though. But I think no lone druid is probably a bigger hit to compLexity than Elite Wolves not having Haunt. Revenge will respawn, but it's a 30-second window here for Elite Wolves. And it looks like they're not going to risk it. They're just going to back. Playing it safe, and honestly, you can't fault them for it. They were pretty far in the hole, and they're actually still 8,000 gold behind still, but this game doesn't really feel like it's 8,000 in favor of compLexity right now. It looks very much in control from Elite Wolves. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be a very difficult game for compLexity to win. I think Elite Wolves definitely have control over the game. And even though compLexity has that gold lead, it's just going to keep evaporating. And Elite Wolves are going to keep catching up in terms of gold, and it's going to get more and more difficult as they get later and later into this game. compLexity will look to go for another Roche here.
Invisibility. This would do nicely.
Looks like they will be able to get it too. So this is going to be another Aegis for Chessie. And Arrow's going to fly in. We're going to have an immediate Brewmaster split from Smash, and Handskin going to go down. That's once again compLexity. They get an objective, they get what they came for, but they're not able to get out of there. They lose the Aegis immediately. Zefreak going to come and get a duel off on Van. And he is almost able to win that himself, but not able to. As we actually have Elo go down, and now maybe compLexity are going to be able to turn around and fight here, as Zefreak was also able to finish off Van. And Van actually bought back into the game. He'll TP down to Creep Wave here and meet up with his team. But compLexity get a couple kills there. Two very important on the two very important heroes, the Spectre and the Tinker. And it really just cost them Aegis and their Venge. I think that's a decent trade for compLexity. But the issue still remains of, okay, they got that, but now they can't push. They can't do anything on the back of those little wins, and that's what I think you really have to worry about if you're a compLexity fan, is how are they going to be able to actually win the game against Elite Wolves? Because yeah, they won that little battle there, but it's not enough for them to really punish them in terms of structures. Now they've just been able to prepare the lanes and start getting down the lanes in order to push, and it's 20 seconds and we're going to have the Spectre back up. Yeah, Elo doesn't have buyback, so there's a potential opening here for compLexity. But that time's basically cut in half because of a Fortify getting used here by Elite Wolves. But the Bear's chewing through this tier 3 tower, and it will go down in the mid lane.
Middle tower has fallen.
But they won't be able to get anything further as Ewo will respawn. Still no... actually, it will just come off cooldown now, the Haunt. Kindle's BKB still at 10 seconds. He's got 11 charges on his Bloodstone. Let's check Zefreak's BKB. 7 seconds. Chessie's actually bought Boots of Travels. Still haven't had this AC get completed. His progress has kind of been stumped, as his last couple engagements haven't really ended too well for him. The Limp's BKB is also sitting at 10 seconds still. Z-Freak just picked up a Desolator, which is flying on the courier right now. And look at this. We've got to have Van TP on in, and he'll go into the trees. And there's that Thunder God's Wrath immediately scouting him out that I was mentioning. But Van able to blink away. I mean, are they going to be able to go on him here? No, they can't see him. compLexity almost getting a very valuable pick-off onto that Tinker. They know that his buyback's on cooldown, and if Van died there, that would have been gigantic for them. Instead, it's compLexity that's in trouble. Swindlemelons is now getting bullied, as they're going to be chasing him down. 4 heroes from Elite Wolves chasing down the Zeus. He will deny himself. But it is a death on the side of compLexity. And what a different position we would have just been in the game if Van died in the bottom lane instead. We would have had compLexity knocking on the door of the bottom and the mid lane, bringing down Rax, with the Tinker being unable to buy back and defend. And instead we've got Elite Wolves getting the kill and dropping the Zeus, and now compLexity have to wait. They have to wait until their Zeus comes back, and that gives Elite Wolves time for their Tinker to basically tick away his buyback cooldown there. I love how, as I check, it's 3-2-2, but Handskin and Chessie both getting very, very low. We will have Handskin dying again. I feel like that's how the last couple fights have started, Handskin dying. But he always pretty much gets a swap off, helping someone else. And we'll go and defend in the bottom lane. Keeping tabs on his buyback cooldown. It's 2.5 minutes now. Force staff about to be completed for MGod. We'll actually bring up the items here. So if you forgot who's got what, or maybe you're just tuning in, take a quick look there. So that's a 4 staff in the making for MGod. Beyond that, Smash is pretty close to an AC. We got Van picking up a Mystic Staff, so I expect a Sheep Stick to be on the way for him. Masoku, GG Boots. Iwo has since picked up a Diffusal and completed his Manta since we last checked in. Still hasn't gone for that heart. Still just a casual vitality booster for him. See, compLexity have added on a lot of Boots of Travel, as they're going to use the Thunder God's Wrath to try and catch someone, and they will find MGod. That'll be a kill for them. They are going to catch Iwo as well, and that is a very important kill for them, and Iwo does not have buyback. But Van, he's in behind, and he's killing the creep wave off. The pings are coming out. Chessie's already pushing the top lane, so they can go and bring down this tier 2 tower, and then they just need to get their creeps onto the tier 3 in the top lane. They can go to mid, just go for those racks, but now they need to just be able to get this tier 2. Chessie's already down to half HP. The Brewmaster split from Smash is just doing work, as Chessie and Handskin are just being completely zoned out. But the other heroes from compLexity are on top of Van, and they will bring him down to 200 HP, and he's dead. No buyback available for Van. Handskin will get a swap off onto Smash, as the duel will come out from Z-Freak. Gem's actually on the ground. Smash will buy back immediately. Handskin goes and picks up the gem.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
But the two big heroes on Elite Wolves are dead and no buyback. 25 seconds before we'll have Ewo, but 65 seconds before Van.
Radiant's top tower has fallen. Radiant's top
and the top tier 3 goes down, and now the racks start going down as well. The creeps are pushing the bottom. They'll get the range racks by themselves. The bear just gets the top set of racks, and now it'll move towards the mid. As MGod and Smash are going to try to defend here, but MGod and Smash both just get demolished. As Masoku is pretty low. Ewo will respawn here, but it is going to be mega creeps. As, wow, a couple very crucial pickoffs by compLexity just give them this game, because there just wasn't buybacks. I don't know what Ewo had bought so that he didn't have buyback, but obviously upon reflection that was a mistake. That he would buy to the point where he didn't have buyback. I almost feel like maybe Elite Wolves felt like they were struggling a little bit more than they were. I felt like they were in a better position. And they didn't really have to buy or risk not having buyback on a hero like a Spectre when they were kind of as strong as they were. And then on top of that, Van didn't have enough gold for buyback, but he was still on cooldown anyways. So it made sense that he didn't have enough gold. But if Ewo had buyback there, that would have been completely different. He didn't have to use it. He could have just sat sitting there respawning, and then that fight happens in the top here. And then all of a sudden Ewo buys back, haunts in. And that's, once again, a very different game. A very different fight. And instead of compLexity winning that and getting Megas, they're instead probably losing a couple heroes. And again, it's another team fight win for Elite Wolves. With Megas pushing, compLexity will have the space to go for Roche here. And Z-Freak is already in there, and Limp will come and join him. As Swindles and Chessie will actually find a kill on Van once again in the top lane. And here goes Roche. Who's going to get the Aegis?
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Actually just going to leave it on the ground as Handskin's going to come in. He'll pick it up. Cheese will get picked up by Z-Freak as he drops his Aether Lens on the ground. There's now compLexity looking to group up and end the game here as they're going to meet up with Chessie, who's already being a nuisance in the Elite Wolves base. As the arrow's going to fly in, it's just going to hit the bum of the bear. As it's going to get stunned up, Chessie will have to resummon that. But here comes everyone else on the side of compLexity. Moonlight Shadow will get used from Elite Wolves as they look for an engage that's going to have to win them or not lose them the game here. They need a big win here as the tier 4 is already down as this fight's getting pretty separated. The Smash going to jump on in. The Haunt's going to get used as we're getting some stuttering in the game. Z-Freak pops his BKB and a refresher getting used there by Limp. As he still hasn't used his second Dream Coil, but they're going to drop M-God and Evo is already dead, and this is pretty much the end for Elite Wolves, or at least the end in this game, as compLexity look to finish this and pull ahead 2-0 in this best of 5, as they are just one game away from winning the grand finals of the Dota 2 Canada Cup. Well, we had Elite Wolves 2-0 compLexity in the winners bracket finals, and now they're going to have to 3-0 them if they want to be the champions of the Dota 2 Canada Cup. And we'll have that our third game to determine whether or not Elite Wolves will be able to keep going and try to push this closer and closer towards a full 5-game series. As like I said, we're going to have a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with that game, the third game. As I'm Niz, and thanks for joining me, and thanks for sitting through it and watching that game with us. But we will have our next game, Game 3, coming up in just a few. So don't go anywhere.